Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Hello, 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 everyone. This is the Larry Yates As Is show. We welcome you today from around the world, from sunny, almost sunny California to the rest of the world. We say good morning. And we have a phenomenal show today. And this is Reverend Carolyn Wilkins. I think you're getting used to me, so I don't know if Larry's going to be able to come back or not. But we're doing a shout out to Larry Yates, who's on the road, and he's on the East Coast and will be here next week for the show. But we give him a shout out for all the wonderful work he's doing and the people he's meeting and the work he's doing in the world. So our show today is going to consist of three quite amazing people who have touched my life, two more than others, but we've had them on the show before, and two are returning. One, in fact, has flown all the way from Rwanda to be with us, and her name is Jessica McCall. She is the founder of Jessie's Place, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. We also have with us Linda Romano, who is the Executive Director of Jessie's Place, and we also have Onesphore Harera, and he'll have to tell you his last name again, who is the president of the Jessie's Place organization. It is 501c3 in California, but it does the majority of its work in Rwanda. So we want to thank them for being here and welcome them to the program. And I'm going to spend just a few minutes. I can't resist talking about politics because we just have a few more days to go. We're on the final countdown for the presidential election, but I also want to mention that we have senatorial elections in all the states. We have congressional elections. We have local elections for school board and for other positions. And we have a slew of bills. I don't know what's happening in other states, but in California, we have an amazing number of bills, over 50, that we need to vote on. And I encourage you all to really pay attention, look at something that you find trustworthy, whether it's the local newspaper who you trust with their opinion because they usually have an overview of the bills, or perhaps it's an organization, whether it's the Republican or Democratic organization, that gives you a list of what they recommend. And sometimes there are private and independent organizations or the women's voting organization. But go to something that may assist you so that you don't feel overwhelmed, but please vote. It's so important. And I will just say, when I keep thinking about our presidential election, I consider this one of the most important elections we can have. 8 years ago, we had a chance to vote for Barack Obama. Many people did not know how to pronounce his name, who he was, where he was from, what he did. But it was a fair election. It was one that we learned more about who he was and what he wanted to bring to the party. And he won in overwhelming numbers of bringing young people to the party, of bringing elders. I remember my mother was so happy to be able to vote for the first Black president of the United States. And there are many people who are over 90 who made their way to the polls because they're part of the group that fought, and some knew those who died for the vote. So I encourage you on behalf of my mother, who isn't with us anymore, get out to vote. She never missed the opportunity to vote, and she understood from her taking political science in the 8th grade how important it was to vote. And once she was given the opportunity to do so, she did it every time possible. So I encourage that. And I think we're probably going to spend a little more time about the election next week. So I'm not going to bash anyone today. I'm just going to encourage us to have the highest consciousness. And I will repeat what Michelle Obama said: when they go low, we go high. So I want us all to come to the highest place we can in our consciousness about what we're going to vote for and who we're going to vote for, and the intelligence that we're going to vote with. And also let this be an opportunity to show your children and your grandchildren that we can agree to disagree, but still have the common ground of running a country on behalf of all the people. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. That's what we're doing. So, with that said, we're going to now go into our program with our wonderful guests. So I'd like to first start with Jessica. And Jessica, between Jessica and Linda, if you'll share with the listeners and viewers, tell us a little bit about Jessie's Place, when it was started, why it was started, and what you have achieved in the years since it started.
Well, Jessie's Place actually started back in about 1991. Mm-hmm. And we worked with a lot of homeless people. We worked on the street. We helped mentally and physically challenged people on the street get into housing. We picked up people like young women who were pregnant. We'd try to get them into rehab and a safe place to have their babies. We fed many, many homeless people. And, life went on. Mm-hmm. And I had a chance to read a wonderful article in People's Magazine. I think the magazine was 1998, but it was an old magazine in a doctor's office. Mm-hmm. And they had a story about a wonderful American woman who went to Rwanda in the 40s, which, as you know, some of us that are older remember you didn't travel to Africa mm-hmm. in the 40s. Hardly anyone traveled like they do today. And anyway, she lived there most all of her life, doing great work until the genocide came. And so she went out to her chicken coop, and some people in the neighborhood came and were killing people she had hiding in the chicken coop. And she said, "Why are you doing this? Kill me, I am old." Mm. And I thought,
so she was willing to sacrifice her own life for those to live.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I thought, golly, I can't meet Mrs. Roosevelt, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, but maybe I can meet this woman. She was deported when they had all the Americans mm-hmm. leave because of the genocide. And by this time, I think she might have been around 79.
Mm-hmm.
So she came back to America, and she was watching CNN, and she saw all the orphans there. And she had a little money saved. She came back and started an orphanage called the Mbazi Orphanage. And my passion in life was and is orphans.
Mm-hmm.
So in the article, it said that she wanted teddy bears. And so one of our little projects was giving out teddy bears, for instance, in Mexico or Guatemala. You know, everyone needs a hug. I know people need clothing, which we brought, and people need food,
Mm-hmm.
which we brought, but everyone needs a hug.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it took me a while, and I got the teddy bears together. And actually, I lost the article and was watching primetime TV. And they had a wonderful young man on there who, in 1998, was taken off a bus by the rebels, told to kill everyone on the bus with machete, and he said his God would not allow him to do that. And so they killed everyone in front of him and then took him over to where they kill animals. They cut his arms off. And that was to send a message to people. Well, Columbus Zoo brought him here to get him some arms. And so he was on TV. And he didn't speak much English, but he had $1 million smile.
Uh-huh. So I'm going to interrupt you for just a quick moment because the person she's talking about is Frederick. Mm-hmm. And Frederick has been on this program a couple of times. And it's so interesting because I met Jessica many years ago through our Global Works organization in the spiritual center called Agape. And in my work with her, she had told me about this young man many times. And my heart was open, a little sad actually, after I heard the story. And some of you may be feeling that right now, of a little bit of discomfort to hear about someone who had their arms chopped off. So when I first was ready to meet him, I had a little trepidation because I didn't know who I was going to meet. I didn't know who this person was and whether I could be as loving as I wanted to be. And Frederick walked into the room, and he has probably the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life. And it didn't matter if he had arms or not. I fell in love with the person of who he was. And that's what Jessica is talking about, $1 million smile, which is even more than $1 million smile. He has the personality, the energy, the excitement, and the zest for life that makes everyone around him want to do some things. So I'm going to have you do the rest of the story in a few minutes. Onesphore, you are from Rwanda.
Yes, ma'am.
And Jessica mentioned the genocide and the challenges of living there and also having family members who may have been taken during that time. So would you mind sharing quickly but succinctly what your experience was being a citizen, a resident, and I imagine a child during that time?
Good day, everyone. My name is Onesphore Harera Imana, which means in Kenya, Rwanda, it means God is life sustainer.
Beautiful.
So I was born and raised in Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
And right after college, I got a job in research. So back then, Rwanda was known as the Switzerland of Africa for its beauty, mountainous, but also a sense of innocence. And by the way, I'm a mix. My father, who comes from the Hutu ethnic group, rescued my mother, who's from the Tutsi ethnic group, in the first genocide in 1959. So I grew up in that environment of tolerance.
Yes.
And right before the genocide, I was offered a scholarship to come here to further my training. So I left my family behind. It was supposed to be only for 3 years.
Yes.
So back then, in the
Was
villages,
this research in biology?
in agroeconomics.
Agroeconomics.
And so I left as naive as it can be, because everything was life in a village. Everybody was just getting along. But little did we know that there was a genocide brewing. And so that's the kind of environment I left behind. When I got here, shortly afterwards, that's when the genocide began. And during the genocide, most of my family was taken away. And I was left with my mother. My mother survived miraculously. And my young
sorry
brother.
to hear that. I know that was not easy. And you probably wondered why you were here.
Yes.
And what has come to you from, and what has helped you get through this?
So, right after the genocide, as you can imagine, I was heartbroken. And the trauma was so great that it took me a great deal of time to basically, it was a journey of healing, in a healing process. And through the healing process, I had on one hand this, what I used to call it a reality, my reality of, I'm coming here for a couple of years, going back home and have a brilliant career in research. But then everything was taken away. So it's during that healing process where I began to ask myself, now that all these career things I was hanging on is taken away, what is my life purpose?
Yes.
Then that was probably a hidden blessing, no doubt, because then I began to do a soul search. Now that my life is spared, what do I want to do with my life?
You know, this is, to me, I lean to the spiritual often. And some people ask, why do things happen? Why are there tragedies? Why are there hurricanes? Why are there wars? Why do I have parents who may assault me?
Yes.
And in life, there are challenges and tragedies. And I feel like what you have were able to distinguish is that the tragedy did not become you.
Yes.
That there was something within you that was being called forth out of the tragedy that brought greater light to it.
Yes.
So I hope as people are listening that they can perhaps apply it to their world, that some things may happen, but their life doesn't have to be defined by what happened. It can be refined, reframed, redefined by what happened. So I thank you for that.
Yes, it was.
And
no
as
doubt
a
great
result,
challenge.
you became,
Yes.
what happened? You became what?
So I was faced with a great deal of anger and bitterness. But then I came to realize through my healing process that the way out was not retaliation.
Yes.
The way out was forgiveness. And it was really, really hard because amongst my family members who were murdered, I have my twin brother, my identical twin brother, Onesphore Harera, who taught 5th grade, was murdered And I decided that I'm going to honor his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
He taught 5th grade.
Yes.
He was young enough to be an older brother, but also wise enough to be like a father to these children. So my life work became to dedicate myself to the well-being of the children and the young adult, of course, particularly those who are faced with physical challenges, emotional challenges, like Jessica said so well. And so as there's nothing that happens by coincidence, of course. So by God's will, I was introduced to Jessica. And it became clear that there was my path. Because Jessica has been doing this work for the past 15 years.
Yes.
Until I met her. She's also known in Rwanda as the white mother of all. With the white hair, she has a capacity to embody the compassion.
Yes.
And she has become a role model for me. So then my dedication right now is to champion the cause of these children and create the awareness, because people just need to know what's happening.
Yes.
There is the suffering, but also through the suffering, there is hope.
There's hope, absolutely.
And that's what Jessica's place is, and that's what my life work is, to continue the work. And so we envision not only the wellness of the children, but also the thriving. Because children are going through a healing process, we want to get them to the point where they can thrive. And so we envision, because most of these physical challenges, they come from a lack of prenatal care.
Yes.
So we have decided that we're going to reach out to partners so we can build a wellness clinic where young mothers will come in and receive prenatal care and learn to care for the children they already have. And this is where we are here today.
So before we continue that, I'd like to do a couple of things. One, let people know that there is a website, www.jessiesplace.com. And also to have Linda jump in now and share a little bit about the context of what Jessie's Place is and what the key programs are.
Thank you so much for having us on your show, Reverend Carolyn. Right now, it's such a pleasure to express the expansion that's taken place just in the past year. Our key programs, our focus is on children and young adults with special needs or physical or intellectual challenges. So we have a center in which we do physiotherapy and massage and dance and performance, and something that Jessica has created called musical yoga. For those challenged children who are not able to follow the direction of yoga, we use musical instruments that they hold in their hands as they are doing the positions and the breathing. And we actually see and have testimony from several organizations and people, volunteers from all over the world. UNICEF came to visit, and they said remarkable advancement and changes in a positive way that they haven't seen, that this should be a model center throughout Rwanda. And this is because of the love and compassion that is given to the children and the young adults each and every day.
So I'm going to I'm going to come up a little bit so we can get a broader view of where this is and what it is. So Jessica initially, in going to Rwanda, wound up co-partnering with two young men to create the Mbumwe Center. And it is that organization which has property and had built a school. They built locations. Do they have housing? Do they have dormitory there? Was it school and program, a space for programs? And so that is a broader space that the Jessie's place works within that framework. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so the programs that are offered, so there are over 400. I believe Frederick told me he was here for a short while, but he told me that they've moved from bringing less than 200 a day to, what is the number now?
500.
500. Okay.
530.
530. Yes, I know he
coming
was
to
very
the
specific.
school.
Each day.
But then we also have the Skill Center where people come. We also have another program for intellectually challenged children, music program, all on their particular property.
Yeah. So this is like a center of healing. With the Boomway Center doing one piece, and then Jessica has been involved in Jessie's place for many years, but she literally moved. She picked up her bag and moved to Rwanda in 2014, was it? And we've missed her, but she's taken her heart and they could feel her heart before, because she was, the things that she's not saying, I have to say for her. She was donating funds, getting donations and sending them to Rwanda. Sometimes she wouldn't even take care of herself and her own housing and eating to make sure other people were taken care of. This is the kind of heart that Jessica has, and I want you all to see it beyond what you see in the beauty of her face. There is such an angel sitting here, and she's touched my life. She's touched the lives of many people by being an example of how one woman can make a difference.
Yes.
It was her commitment, her decision that said, I want to share love with these young people, that it all was instigated. And from that, she wound up meeting Frederick and Jonathan, and their coming together has created something beyond anyone's imagination of over 500 people coming to a center each day. So please continue.
I'd like to mention another program that Jessie's Place supports, and that is our what we call home visit program. And what that means is that we go out into the rural villages. It takes about 40 minutes on no roads to get there, very bumpy terrain, and we reach about 40. We have about 40 women and their children who are challenged. That we have a teacher each week that teaches them skills. And I'll just hold up one of the things that they're making right now, are these beautiful baskets made from rice bags. The huge rice bags
Why
coming
don't you
from.
put them in front of the black holder? Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And of course, this helps their income, and that's just one of the programs. The other thing that we're very happy about, and this is how we're getting to the core issue of why there are so many challenged children there, is our nutrition program. So we've obtained 3 acres of land, which has just been cleared and planted with crops by these women, and they will be able to harvest the vegetables from that land, and we will purchase the vegetables from them and give them a monthly income.
Beautiful.
And they will also have plenty left over for their own families to feed their children and their families, and more to sell at the marketplace. So
beautiful.
multiple ways for them to bring in income. these women are very courageous, very brave. They carry around their children of all ages who are very challenged, and they put them on their back and work very hard in the fields. But they are just like all other mothers. They adore their children and are so grateful for this opportunity to better their lives.
Yes. Now, Onesphore, one of the things that I have read and known about and spoken to people who are from parts of Africa is that when people have physical disabilities, they're sometimes kept in their own homes and do not have options for going to school or gaining any skills. So since you live there, have you been able to see a change in what is happening, and how has Jessie's Place impacted the thinking around people who may have disadvantages?
Yes, so as I mentioned briefly earlier, the genocide has inflicted a certain emotional trauma on everyone, obviously, but particularly on women who are giving birth, because there has not been any program to treat this emotional trauma. Women, they carry baby, but they transmute this trauma onto the babies. So they come out with physical challenges, obviously. So yes, there is a certain stigma that is associated with physical disability. And like you said, and it's true, there is like a shame because they don't understand why this trauma came about. They will prefer to keep him away as a way to maintain a certain dignity for their family. But then in the process, there is this being who's not being cared for.
Now, is there some stigma associated from religious conversation that a family may be cursed because the child is not considered whole if they have a trauma?
Yes, there is religious, the religious aspect.
Yes.
And there's also just myth, traditional myths.
Yes.
And this is kept under the rug. It's not spoken. So you have these suffering beings who are not allowed to have a place. They don't have a place.
Yes.
You know, and so what Jessica's Place has done is to bring these beautiful beings out of shadow and begin to nurture them back to life.
Yes.
A good example is Mugisha. Mugisha, there is a YouTube video of Mugisha who was found crawling in dirt a few years back. And thanks to the compassion that was given to him, he's like a thriving, it's been only a few years. He's really a young kid, but he came from crawling to thriving. He has the physical challenges, but his spirit came back. And that's what Jessie's Place has done for this.
That's what love will do.
That's what love will do.
That's what love will do.
And that's what we intend. So we are reaching to a small number. As you know, 90% of Rwanda is rural. So we have probably 90% of children to reach out yet. And our vision is to be able to have a center that will be a role model where children will thrive, but to send this healing technique modality that has been, by the way, has received an endorsement of UNICEF. I mean, the word has gone out. And then so we're having more and more demand, which is good, but also we are under pressure to be able to provide care for not only those who are in a current center, in a center currently, but also to reach out to the entire country.
Yes. Well, that's wonderful. And I am hoping that those who are listening have an opportunity to look into more of what Jesse's Place is doing by going to the website. There's a donate button, so you can donate to the organization. On the website, you'll see there's some updates that need to be done for the event that's happening this year, but you'll see some images of the beautiful young people and adults who are there. The programs include programs for the blind, for the deaf. There are programs for women. And Linda, what else? Did we miss?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Just to expand a little bit on the programs for the deaf and blind group, Jessica created a program wherein they are learning to do sign language and also to sing and play percussion musical instruments. And they've been rehearsing for almost a year now. And now they've done their first performance at a school. And this is what they're going to be going to different locations and doing their performances. And they're in so much joy and so much happiness to be able to express themselves in this way. And it's a beautiful, beautiful program. And lots of music on weekends. There's a home for the women and the men. And on the weekends, the challenged individuals, young adults, receive a visit with a music teacher. And I think Jessica brings goodies like Fantas and cookies. And so they have lots of fun. There's lots of fun, lots of joy going on. And you can see it in their eyes and in their spirits and in the physical changes that are happening in a positive way.
Wonderful. And Jessica, when you do the home visit program, what do you see as the greatest need, and what has been the response? How are the mothers responding to you coming to them?
Well, it's difficult to say because we have so many different problems to look at. But I did want to say that we talked about the Mbumwe Center. I want to say Jesse's Place has 300 people that we serve.
Wonderful.
So that is going from your Mbumwe Center, there are 500 or 600 people, and our program already has 300 people.
Wonderful.
We have many different things as we call it a place of joy and happiness and love. In the therapy room, we have people that are walking that were in wheelchairs, young children, JoJo, which some people that saw our program before might remember because he was standing before and now he's walking on his own. Some of the children we have the large heads. Some of the children have spinal bifida. We just, it's not as easy to help them as one might think.
So I'm curious of how your experience has been there versus what you thought it was going to be when you were here.
Well, it's just it's tremendously fulfilling. You know, I've had my own healings because I had a lot of physical problems, and now I work 7 days a week. I get up at 6 in the morning and go to bed at 11 at night.
She looks younger now than when she left in 2014.
Yes.
Something happened.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe that's going to be the newest spa, is to go work with Jesse's Place.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you just get, you give love, but, you know, I walk into the center and 30 children come and start giving me hugs, you know, and are so happy to see me. And I spend every day, everyone gets a hug and a kiss,
Yes.
then welcomed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I told you before, my dream was to always work with orphans. And I went because of Mrs. Carr and the Mbabazi orphanage. And Obama has closed the orphanages and got many children back with a family member or someone who would take them. These children mostly were in the Noel orphanage, where 700 children were there. So you might imagine what that was like, taking care of them during the genocide. They were eating off the floor. To bathe, they ran outside naked in the rain and the cold. And so when it came time for them to leave the orphanage, no one wanted these children. They're adult children. And so Point Foundation and Gallagher Trust opened 4 homes. And but they all come to the center. So my prayers to work with orphans came true. It's just it wasn't the way I expected, because they're all about 4 or 5 years old, even though they're grown up. But, but I still have my little children.
Oh, wonderful.
So that's very nice, and they're very responsive, and it's a delight in going to each of the homes, 1 a week, and then the blind and deaf once a month. Dancing and music, and just have a little party.
And they're teaching you.
Well, I don't know about teaching, but I know they make me happy, and I'm younger, and I'm physically much healed to what I was before I had to have.
Well, the reason I said that is because what I believe can happen is they teach us not to fear. We have ideas, and America is very big on the physicality of people, on the wealth of people as determining their value. And you've gone to a place where the value is not in any money that they have, because they have very little money. On a physical basis, those of us in the room wouldn't be considered valuable according to Hollywood, but
that's true.
People of all backgrounds and all sizes and all shapes. And we've gone through that in the United States also, because when I was in school, there were no physically disadvantaged children in school. They either were home or it wasn't even homeschool. They just didn't go. And I remember coming home, and I'd see a young girl in a wheelchair. I'd see somebody who was deaf signing, but they were not in the school system. So our country had to learn to grow up, and the parents had to demand the opportunity for education for their children. So in doing that, I started learning more, and this is where I'm saying it from. What they taught me was not to be afraid, that people may miss a limb or miss the ability to speak, but they still were whole people. They were still able to give love. They were able to share who they were with the world, and able to succeed. Now you see the Olympics, the Special Olympics, of young people and old people out swimming, out running, out biking, anybody
fantastic.
Else. So we have myths about who people are in their human form. That needs to be changed. So we only have 5 more minutes, so it's going by so quickly.
Yes.
Linda, would you please share with us the upcoming event and I also personally invite everyone to consider coming to our program at Agape on November 13th. If you'd like to know more and meet Jessica, Linda, and Onesphore in person, they're going to be in Culver City on November 13th, a program from 2:30 until 5 at the Agape International Spiritual Center. In addition, on November 19th, they're having an amazing program. And Linda, would you like to share what that is?
I'd love to. We'd love to invite all of you to come to the Nottingham Art Gallery in Newport Beach on November the 19th. And what we're doing is we're combining the artistry. We're going to have an art gallery showing of 2 Rwandan artists and 3 local artists. And at the same time, it's going to be a benefit for the children of Rwanda for Jessie's Place. The opening reception begins at 3 p.m. and it goes till 8 p.m. And there'll be food, music, and dancing, and a wonderful time will be had by all. But it will be a wonderful experience because Jessica will be giving a presentation. You'll see a PowerPoint presentation. You'll see some videos. You'll get more up close and personal and just have a great time. So please support us and come and have a wonderful time. Bring your family. That's on Saturday, November the 19th. And our website, if you would like to partner with us and see what you can do to help our programs, if it touches your heart, is www.jessies-place.com. Thank
Wonderful.
you so much.
And as we come closer to the end of the program, I'd like to go around and ask you for some final words and final thoughts about your program and what you're looking for as a vision for the program. So I'm going to start with you, Onesphore.
Thank you, Reverend. So the basket that were shown, they are fulfilling a double purpose, which is to provide a certain income, also provide a safe place for women to commune and process the emotional trauma. And I want to thank all the wonderful people who donate, who acquire these baskets, to know that it's fulfilling a profound purpose.
Thank you so much. Yes. Linda.
Yes. The profound purpose, as you said, for me is that an expansion has taken place in my heart and in my soul and in my life by reaching out to people that live in another country, but yet they are so and have been traumatized in a huge way, and yet have so much courage, so much spirit, and so much life, and so much to give. And it's really an honor and a privilege to be able to help assist them to get to the highest place that they can be in their life.
Okay, thank you. And Jessica, would you give us some closing thoughts?
Well, I want to thank you for having us here. It's always a joy and a pleasure to be here. I want to thank all the listeners. I want to thank all the people who have been part of our project and all the new people we hope that will be. It's a wonderful project that makes huge differences in people's life. The people of Rwanda that have been through so much tragedy and trauma, they are completely amazing. They're completely loving and forgiving and helping each other, and they don't want to be known as victims. If someone says to me, you know, the victims of the genocide, and I say, no, they're new people growing.
Survivors, yes. And they're making changes because they have peace councils that are going on. They're very supportive of peace and nonviolent action. And as I bring this program to a close, I am honored to know you, Jessica, Linda, Onesphore. You're doing good work in the world, making a difference. And what I have seen in working with both Jessie's Place, the Mbumwe Center, and the organizations there, is they are indeed saying, I know who I am. Whatever has happened to our country is part of our history, but we have a bright future ahead. So it includes all the people, it includes the mothers, and what you can do as our listening audience is to help them have a bright future. Mm-hmm. So as Larry says at the end of each program, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its women. And I have added, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its youth.
Yes.
So let us all be young in spirit and support our youth worldwide. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Thank you.